Hello and welcome to Fearless DIY Music. My name is Tristan Lass, and today I want to talk about vibrato. I want to talk about vibrato effects pedals and my opinion on those, and I also just want to show what you can do with the actual mechanical arm or system that you currently have probably on at least one of your instruments. I find that vibrato effects pedals are very dissatisfying. I feel like they just kind of take over, and you don't have the kind of control that you have when you just have the bar underneath your hand. You kind of have to play to the pedal more than using it as a subtle effect or for just particular parts of a phrase. So I'm not a fan of vibrato pedals. I have a couple of pedals where vibrato is a function on the pedal, and I never use them. Every time that I try to, that seasick kind of just constant in and out of tune slightly thing just does not work for me. I'm going to state that this is just an opinion, because I know right now and over the past few years it's been very popular to use vibrato as an always on kind of thing, just to give more texture or character, people say. I find that it is dissatisfying and becomes very kind of wearying to the ear if you're listening to an entire performance or an entire track that has the vibrato effect going constantly. And my main beef with them is that it doesn't sound organic to me at all, and the lack of ability to control it really well for phrasing. So I advocate for just using the vibrato bar that you currently have on your guitar. Floyd Rose, is great because you can go up and down. It stays in tune perfectly for the most part. A lot of people would say, well, on a Jazzmaster or a Strat, you're going to have tuning issues. You may have to retune after a performance if you're really going at it, but I find that if you have your nut adequately lubricated and properly cut, along with having your vibrato system perfectly dialed, you will not run into as many problems as you would think, and you might not run into any problems at all. I can play my guitars using, subtle to, moderate vibrato use for extended periods of time without having to retune. On Strats, if you float your bridge just a little bit, loosen up those springs on the back, you can get that back and forth modulation. And of course, a Jazzmaster is inherent with that. And there are a number, there are so many different tremolo or vibrato systems out there, and you can set them all up to do the things that you need them to do. Now, all of that being said, if you have a guitar without a vibrato bar at all, there's the classic. You learn to do vibrato with your hand, and that is, a skill. And a lot of Les Paul players and a lot of players who have, do not have a vibrato system on their guitar, it doesn't slow them down one bit. They just, use the good old finger shake, and it works great. All right. So what I wanted to show are a couple of things that, you can do just with your bar that a lot of people would say, oh, well, it'd be better if you used like a pedal or an effect. One of those things would be, when you're running through a little chord progression or something like that. And what I find is if I just rest my hand on the bar and move my picking hand up a little bit closer to the neck, I can get nice little subtle, effects as I go along just by keeping my hand on the bar and deciding how fast or how slow I want to make the vibrato effect. And the beauty of that is that, there may be a part in the song where you're like, oh, well, I don't want this, A to be super, wobbly, but then you go up to the F and then go slow to fast. and then ride that little wave on the E. And so you see, I just feel like, you know, the tactile control, the idea that you can choose your moment is really, really key. Now, another place where a lot of people would say, oh, where the pedal might be a little bit better than, or easier than using your vibrato bar would be single note kind of stuff, you know, where you're, you know, playing along like that. Now, I find that if you take your hand and kind of press down just a little bit and let just your natural motion go along with the bar as you're picking, you can get that slight wobble with almost every note that you pick. And excuse the flub there, but you see, you get my point, where basically you just, you know, you rest your hand on the bar, and you get those nice little modulations going as you're picking along. And I find that that is a lot more satisfying than relying just kind of like on a stock sound or a stock, you know, setting, which you do not have control over the rate, you know, in real time. I know that some of them have an expression pedal, but that seems to me like you're calling a lot of things into play that are going to be more difficult to control than just quite simply using your hand and just going ahead and doing it that way. But and you can hear the wobble all the way through that because I'm keeping my hand on the bar, and just the natural motion of your hand will influence those notes and will give you the same effect that the pedal would. All right, well, this is just something I've been thinking about because I had a fairly expensive vibrato pedal and I ended up selling it recently because I was just like, it's just not satisfying. And as I'm sitting and recording in the studio or messing around with things, I just found that its uses were severely limited, and the cost was almost prohibitive to begin with. So save some money, don't buy the pedal, just work on vibrato techniques and you'll get just the same result. Alright, if you've watched the video to this point, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. Shares are greatly appreciated as well. And comments. What are your opinions about, you know, using just the bar instead of, you know, using an automated pedal? Alright, you take care, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.